Hey friends, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about why in the world did I become the hot mess mama? Now, I think we hear about the hot mess mama all the time, and we know that everybody has those hot mess mama moments, but I don't think anybody really strives to be a hot mess mama all the time, right? It's a really stressful, horrible feeling. And so we want to have a peaceful, happy life. And I had gotten to the point where I had 4 kids, I had just had my 4th baby, and at one time in my life, I felt like I kind of had things under control. And for some reason, I was just feeling like a hot mess. And this went on for several months. And I just could not figure out what was going on. And because I was just going so fast, I didn't stop to take inventory. I didn't stop to figure out what was wrong. I just kept going and going and hoping that I'd figure it out along the way. But one thing happened that kind of changed everything. I had a good friend just stop by out the blue, and my kids had just opened a package, actually from my mom. We were living in Mexico at the time, and she always sent these great care packages. And we had just kind of finished school, and the house was a complete disaster. Like, think worst case tornado scenario, and that was my house. Now, given they had just opened a package, but it was a mess even before that. I was just taking things as they come and reacting. That's how my life was. I was living in a reactive state, and I was stressed out. My friend showed up, and I was super embarrassed, but I didn't want to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't come into my house." So I'm like, "Oh, come in." And the look she had on her face when she saw my house, she's the sweetest, most adorable, wonderful, caring person. She never held it against me, and she offered to help clean it up even. But the look she first had, her first reaction was, "What in the world?" Like, she was completely shocked. You could just see the shock on her face. And I was so embarrassed. But the thing was, it wasn't about being judged. The embarrassment came from feeling like I had let everything go. I was going so fast and living in a reactive state for long enough that my life was no longer orderly or in control. And I knew it was my fault. I knew I was in charge, and I knew I could make changes, and I hadn't, and I had let it go too far. And so that was kind of like an eye-opening experience for me. I was also a mess because my health was kind of in a mess at this point, and I realized that I had just been letting everything go. I think all of us, especially those that have dealt with postpartum depression and anxiety, all of us get to a point where we kind of have this click go on in our head. We know we have an issue. We know we have a problem. But for some reason, we keep going, and pretty soon we have this experience where it gets bad enough that you're like, I am either going to need to change things, or I am severely going to hurt my family or myself in terms of us not being able to reach where we need to be and possibly having health problems for the rest of our life. And at that time we were homeschooling, and I was worried that I was just going to mess up my kids' entire life. So I knew I needed to make some changes. And when my friend came over, and that look on her face of shock, I started looking at my life from the outside. Instead of reacting, I started looking at it objectively and as a big picture and saying, I lost that vision, and I lost that big picture of what I wanted. I was so busy dealing with the pieces that I wasn't looking at what I really wanted out of life. And I didn't want to be a hot mess mama. I didn't believe that people are always that way. There are solutions to things. And that may mean that you need to get some medication, that you need to get some counseling. But sometimes, like it was for me, I just needed to get my life in order. And the thing was, I knew that I had been to the point where my life was in order at one time. So I knew I could do it again, but it was still really, really overwhelming. And I didn't know where to start because things were such a mess. But when my friend came in and I saw her big picture look, I realized that's where I needed to start. I needed to start with what I really wanted. And those are the 3 steps I always start people with are your vision, your routines and systems, and then get some help. So with the first one, with the vision, you need to look at what you really want in life and that big picture. And I had lost sight of that. And so I started revisiting that and journaling and figuring out and talking with my husband and counseling with my family what it is we were really looking for, but also doing some introspection, because one of the biggest reasons I had become a hot mess was because I had lost myself. I was no longer taking care of myself. I was no longer even thinking about doing anything for myself or reaching any of my own personal goals. I was just a machine going through the day and not even doing it well. Just a reactive machine. So I started looking at my big picture of what my mission was, what I felt I was here to do. And yes, my family was part of that, but there were things outside of my family that I felt drawn towards that I needed to accomplish. And so when I started paying attention to those things and making those goals again and making small little mini steps towards that progress and keeping those goals in mind and having those affirmations, those daily practices that constantly move me towards that vision, that's when things started to change. But I had to start with number 1, that vision and dream and what I want. The what's, as I call them, what it is you really want and need and feel drawn towards in your purpose and mission. And then number 2, I needed to go back to my routines and systems. I had just kind of let everything go to a mess. I had been a really routine person before, and I thought, maybe I'm just being too harsh, and I slowly let it go till it was a complete disaster. And I knew that these things would help me. So, like I had when I first had my first baby, and I was a working mom, I started putting those systems in place again. I started getting laundry into a routine. I started getting meal prep into a routine, homeschool into a set routine, my life, my self-care in a set routine, and things became habitual. So I no longer had to worry about them. I was no longer reacting. I knew what was coming next. And if I got thrown off track, I can get back on track easier because I have a plan and a routine and habits in place. And those 2 things made such a big difference. But the third one was the game changer, and that's when I started asking for help. I am not a person that likes to reach out for help. I figure I need to do it myself. I made the mess. I gotta clean it up. But the thing is, we are social beings, and we were sent here as families and in relationships. And so that's how we're gonna get out of our problems too, through our unity of working together. And so I started reaching out to people. I started telling my husband, I am struggling with this and I need your help. I started telling my kids, you know what, we are a family, we need to work on this together. And we started training them on how to be a productive member and responsible member of a family unit. And also, I started reaching out to mentors. I started getting the help that I needed to become better and become what I wanted to be. So I hope these 3 things will help you too. If you're feeling like you're in a hot mess moment, or maybe like me, it's a hot mess season and you need to get out of it, I hope those things will help you too, that you can kind of gain a vision, figure out what you really want, get some systems and routines in place so that things are working in order and you don't have to worry about them anymore because they become habitual and routine. But also you can work in those self-care things and trips and things that you want to do. Make that part of your routine so that it's not boring routine. And then number 3, get the help you need. Reach out. And I hope this video has been one of those helps for you. I hope you will like and subscribe it so you can continue to get videos that will help you. And also connect with me on Instagram and Facebook so we can stay in touch and encourage each other on this journey. I love you guys so much and I want the best for you, and we'll see you soon.